I utilize springtails in lieu of the isopods in certain pieces because tarantulas really only have two things you need to clean up. The bolus, which is when they inject their fangs into something, they basically are injecting with a ton of venom and then it kind of liquefies them a little bit. But people have this thought where they think that tarantulas are like drinking up the juices. That would be an assassin bug. They actually do that. But what they're doing is it's making it like a jello. And then they have like these crushing plates within their chelicera that they're basically crushing it and they're pulling it to what's called a sucking gut in the middle of their, like, let's call it a neck for the lack of a better word. And then they're squishing this gooey gel into their throat. But like where they run an issue is they can't shove their fangs into, like, say, wings of, like, say, an adult male dubia roach or anything like that. So anywhere where venom cannot seep into, it just becomes this ball of like hardened leftovers essentially, and it's called bolus. So what they'll do is they'll kind of like take this bolus and they'll roll it up into like a soccer ball and then they'll just throw it somewhere in their enclosure. So what happens is at that point the bolus does what it was going to do and mold just begins to grow on it. So springtails for me are that cleanup crew that I desperately need, because what I don't want is, I mean, I will say this: fungi has this tendency to be very good and indicative of, is the enclosure set to the right humidity that I need? Is the ventilation proper, right? That is the part that people should worry about, but they're too focused on the mushroom that grew, right? And it's like, well, the mushroom isn't going to do anything. It just means that your soil is healthy, but the mold that could be indicative of it, hey, it's too much humidity, it's too, or maybe it's too dry, or whatever it is. So the springtails for me act as that part. They're taking care of the mold piece, but they will over time slowly break down some of this bolus. And when you're talking about slings or spiderlings, they're like, we're talking like 1/4 of an inch. Their poop is obviously not a lot. The springtails can take care of that immediately. They can also take care of all of the, for instance, any other insect or invertebrate frass that might be in that soil. They're taking care of some of that stuff too. So I try to use isopods sparingly in those, and only for maybe like the larger tarantulas. But I'm mostly using 2 levels of springtails for that, so that we can get that deep mold and then we can get that top mold at the end of the day too.